Hello and welcome to another butterfly hanger swirl design. Now you might be wondering, why is she posting another video? We've already had one, but I've had quite a few people ask me how I came up with exactly this precise butterfly design, and seeing as this was a development from my first design, I thought I'm going to share this with you here. I wanted to base my design on an actual butterfly look, which is the painted lady, which is mainly orange and black with other shades kind of mixed in. You can see I'm using very fine lines. That was done on purpose. I mixed some white in just to break it all up a little bit. But black was going to be on the outline, and that worked quite nicely. You will see that when I pour that into the mold. So for black, I used charcoal, as I did previously as well with other designs, because that always gives a really strong black. For the orange, I used a neon orange from Aurora Dyes, and you can see it really stands out, and that was the purpose of this, the black against the orange. And I also used neon yellow from Soak Rochford, and again, that's a strong, vivid colour that stands out. Additionally, I used some red, which is red mica from Mica MoMA. Always creates lovely colours as well. And then for the main body, I wanted to make sure there is proper white, so of course I added titanium dioxide to that. The top of the soap one got a little bit crazy, so we'll ignore that part here. But there you go, there is the main soap with the colours. Let's have a closer look at the two different designs, and I'll show and explain to you how I created them. So with this first one here, I obviously had quite a lot of body, so to speak. It was rounded, it was lovely, but I wanted something that resembled more an actual butterfly. So let me show you what I did differently. I'm going to draw these here to give you that comparison. Now, both soaps were done in a loaf mold, and for both soaps, I poured the colour down one side only. So here's my loaf mold for the purple design for the first one that I uploaded. I went into the center with a hanger swirl, across to the colored layers, and then did my 4 loops, each one getting slightly bigger, or at least I'm meant to do this, but you can't really see exactly in the soap. Then down the colored layers, then across, and then out again. So the left-hand side representing the center of the butterfly. And this created this rounded shape as I've just drawn to you. You can see here. This left, as I said, little space in the center to kind of create that dent. I went in here, you can see the 4 loops that I did. I then went down the center, and it seems I've done a little loop there to then go diagonally across. And again, you can see that swirl at the bottom and out in the center. So there's nothing wrong with that design. I really liked it. But this shape here, this rounded one, I didn't want. I wanted to create this as I've just drawn. I wanted to create that dent, and then obviously the center having that little tip. So for my new attempt here, I decided to do the following. Again, I'm going still into the center as I did before, still go across to the colored layers. So this is the part here that I'm trying to create. Oops, you can't see that properly. So I needed those 3 parts. So I went across, did 2 bigger loops, then I did a smaller loop, and then I do 2 bigger loops to then do what I did before, go down the colored sides, and then I still wanted to go across and back out again. So the main part really is that I had 5 loops with a small loop in the center to just make sure the color didn't move across as much. And you can see that exactly here. So we're having from the top 2 bigger loops, then a smaller one, and then 2 bigger ones again, and then go down and here in the center, and then diagonally across. You can always see these really fine loops from the diagonally across one, which is really lovely. And just to point out one thing here, I wanted to make sure that my first layer really was black to give it that strong outline right at the bottom. But before that, I also wanted to make sure that the actual butterfly design wasn't stuck to the bottom of the soap. So I really had to remember to put a layer of white first, just so the butterfly doesn't sit at the bottom of the soap. Also quite important for this particular design is that you have a soap with a very light trace. You don't want it to be too thick because you need enough time to obviously create your design, and at the end of, once your mold is actually filled up, you still need to be able to get your hanger swirl done and actually move it around your entire soap without it being too thick and without it creating air bubbles, etc. I have used essential oils here. I find that lemongrass essential oil or lavender essential oil, sweet orange essential oil, all those are quite reliable. Otherwise, obviously with your fragrance oils, make sure you've tested them plenty in advance so you do not have any nasty surprises. Obviously, a random swirl design is also lovely if needs be, but if you're trying to create something like this butterfly design, you really have to make sure you're starting off with a very light trace. But now let's get started. So here you see the black charcoal is a really solid black color. I made sure it was blended in nicely. It's a very thick, rich color here. There's my loaf mold. And as I said earlier, I wanted to make sure that my butterfly actual design doesn't sit at the bottom of the soap, which is why I started with a layer of the white first. Now I'll be speeding this video up here because there's no need for you to watch this in real time. My soap actually did thicken up a little bit for me, but not in any way that it was creating a problem. Now you can see here, I didn't quite notice, the bottom part is not completely covered, but thankfully I double checked before I actually started pouring, realized my mistake and, moved it around a little bit to make sure there's no gaps. Always worth tapping soap in between, tapping your mold in between, especially when you're working with lots of different layers, and in particular when your soap's getting a bit thicker as well, just so you don't end up with air pockets. So that first layer of black I was making a bit thicker. I wanted to really make sure that that bottom layer was a proper solid black to give it a proper outline. I was also being a little picky, and just any tiny bit of colours that dropped in I scooped out if there was somewhere where they didn't belong. And then basically I just continued layering. So I had my neon orange, I had my neon yellow, I had my red, and I just layered them one after another, and in between added some white. Whenever I felt the colours were moving over to the opposite side a bit too much, I made sure that when I had a bit of white, I pushed the colours indirectly back by pouring from what is currently the top part a bit more of the white, so it kind of pushed the colours back down to the current bottom part of the mold. I hope that makes sense, but hopefully you can see it in the video anyway. You are now watching the video at 6 times its actual speed. Of course, the actual process is nowhere near as fast, but there's no point making you sit through this in real time. I'm cleaning up the work surface most of the time if I can, if I have enough time, because I like to keep them as clear and as neat looking as possible. I don't know if that's an OCD thing. And I've also removed any small colour spots that were in places where they shouldn't be, namely the white areas. And then just keep layering, and every now and tap down the mold as well to make sure that we do not have those air bubbles in the design. I wanted to finish off with black right at the top to, again, like the bottom layer, to give it that specific outline design. But as you can see here now, I ran out of black a little bit. So I have black at the top, but unfortunately not quite as much as I'd hoped for. So my colours are all in now. Just a quick clean up, as I said, and then adding the remainder of the white soap right at the top before then doing the hanger swirl. Now I have to admit something here. Unfortunately, my video stopped working. I ran out of space, so I don't have a video of me actually doing the hanger swirl in the soap. Having said that, there's very little to see because it's inside the soap anyway, so let me show you a dry run instead. So this is as I'd shown you in the drawing. I went into the center, quite towards the surface, did one big loop just under the surface, slightly further down a second big loop, again slightly further down a smaller loop, again further down a bigger one again, and a fourth big one towards the bottom of the soap. Return, and then go all the way down along the side of the mold, up halfway, and then diagonally across, diagonally back again, and then pull it out right at the end of the mold. And that's basically all I did in the soap. I'm afraid I couldn't show you this, but this is exactly what happened inside the soap. Now I'm just going for some crazy speeding up of the video again. This is 8 times the speed, just to show you what I did at the top quickly. I'm not hugely proud of it. I don't think it's a particularly special design. I mean, it looks even worse sped up like this. It's a bit too crazy for my liking, but you know, it was just a different idea for the top. Now, before I show you that first cut, maybe have a quick look, if you're interested, of course, and see what a painted lady butterfly looks like, and then judge for yourself. Let me know whether you think I've succeeded there. So here is that moment, the most exciting part if you've come up with a design that you don't quite know what it's going to look like. Last time with the last butterfly design, I struggled to get the two parts put together properly, but I managed a bit quicker here. There we go. There is the first part. There's a lovely butterfly. Now, obviously, every two pieces look slightly different throughout this soap. So every piece is a new surprise. And sometimes just turning them over or putting two others together gives a different look. Now, this one here, I don't think I've actually put the right ones together. So let me show you the right side. There we go. And there is our lovely butterfly. And so basically that's it. I hope I've been able to help you as seeing two different kind of designs just by putting the design into a different perspective, changing one little detail that actually has a big impact on your overall look. I hope you enjoyed this. Do let me know if you've got any questions or any comments. Thank you very much. Goodbye.